Good afternoon. Welcome to another podcast for Traders Community. Welcome traders, punters, dribblers, and of course investors. So pretty big day today. We're just here to share our thoughts, not giving financial advice, just real market insight from real traders taking the time to go over the day's markets and trade so you can improve your trading and risk exposure. If you like what we do, subscribe to the channel, smash that like button, and smash the bell. Now, let's get into it and make sure you subscribe. Okay, so we had a massive day today, as Madavi has said many times, and we both mentioned, this is kind of what a bull market doesn't do. This is what a bear market does, these violent swings up and down. And that's what we're seeing today. We saw the S&P, what was the S&P up today? Let me give a real quick thing. But we saw the S&P and the Dow have massive runs today. And the main reason was that oil came off at 20% at one stage. And it finished up down 12%. So there was a couple of factors for that. We know yesterday we had the US go to the Venezuela. Sorry, I was just watching a few other trades. US go to Venezuela. So there's that fact to release sanctions in lieu of oil. We talked about that last night real quick. Venezuela released some hostages. We saw there's hope there with Ukraine. Something going on there. But as we showed yesterday, and we're going to start off with this, it was due to fall. You're not coming through very clearly there, mate. So let's go real quickly where we are now, the state of the market. So $110 WTI, 4278 SPX, after getting as high as 4,300. The Nasdaq 13,752. The Russell 2013. Vol was the big clue today. It came off 36 down to 32. And Natgas finished as it's been steady for quite a while now, around $4.50. So let's go straight to energy. And this is where the tail of the tape. If we look at our oil daily, remember, actually we'll start off with weekly. The short at plus 2.8, we were cautioning anyone being long. We had small shorts on this. Remember, you had that crazy upside potential up here, but when you go to your daily, the upside, this actually fell like a machine, actually all the way back to test 8.8. So it's amazing the way this works, right? It got to just under 104. If we look at 240. So that brought down the stocks. It brought down the stocks with it. And from there, they actually bounced very hard. So we had that situation right there. And so that worked very, very nicely. So let me go. So the important thing there was, we're just having some audio problems with Madavi real quick. So I'm actually going to log out of this and start it off again. Give me a sec.
I'm back.
Oh, you're back? Okay, so we can stay with it. So I'm not sure what was going on there. But again, this is a good example why I use technicals and try not to listen, well, obviously not listen to dribblers, but try and stand back a little bit. So risk point meant you couldn't be really, really heavily short, right? So if we look at a shorter time frame, you can see what went on. It had been rolling over from 8.8. So you actually, by the time all this happened, you could work your short. It was working down. Then it fell out of bed, right? So once it broke these lows, it fed on itself, stopped losses. There was other reasons where UAE, Iraq, all saying they can increase production. So, but you should have already been short. It's the point I'm trying to make, or not long, or at least had protection, right? And that's the key. It's not Johnny hindsight. The bounce, and it got right to minus 2/8 on the hourly. This is since recalculated, and minus 3/8. So it hit the actual buy levels that we had set in, right? So that's where was it we were looking at? So it hits these targets. So you preset all these. Anyway, we don't want to spend too much time on that. We went through it ad nauseum yesterday, but you can see the power of it. The flip of that was the S&P. Now, S&P had set up yesterday, as we saw, completing a wave, potentially, but it opened up. It was up 70 handles before this had even happened. But this had already happened. Venezuela, etc. Right? We'll just look real quickly at Natgas. It's still just in this pennant. So on oil, stick to these levels. Know your levels, right? And now you want to see on a 5-10 minute, look at this 50, okay? Let's go quickly to the SPOOs, and then we'll bring on Madavi for the NQs. So this also minus 2/8. Again, yesterday we talked about this, a potential 1-2. And we are having a lot of... Okay, so we're having a bit of distortion with Madavi, problem with the index, but hopefully you can join us. So we had this. Oh, okay, I got you. So I got to say, technically, futures were able to run it, but calls, every time it stalled, we'd get out of our calls because we're worried about SPOOs and didn't believe it, basically. It's difficult sometimes to trade a bear market because futures are more directional, but futures get distorted. And some of the stocks you're in, they work, some don't, because you've got all the overhang. So we're not saying it's real easy. It's certainly not that. And we'll go through some of those stocks in a minute. But same pattern here. You can see we got to. We tested this breakdown 2/8. It needs to get above this and stay above this, which it can happen. There's a lot of different things, counterplays going on that can just come from nowhere, both ways, right? So position accordingly. Okay, let's look at Nasdaq. You all good, Madavi?
Yeah.
Okay, good. If you want to talk us through that. Okay, mate. Thanks.
Sure. I mean, like I thought the last couple of days, we had some really bad downsides of it. And knowing that I think we've been in a bear market, that we're going to have a big bounce. So what I did is I came in long, and that was probably my best trade of the day. The rest of the day was really choppy, not that great. I tried to play more stocks. Every time I was doing a trade, I didn't really have very many winners until probably the biggest one I probably had trading was probably when Amazon came in right when the market closed for a 1-for-20 split. I was short. Then I ended up seeing the markets acting really weird and just lifting up out of nowhere. So I knew it was a news event, and it felt like it was going to be a big event. And I went long and made some money there. But besides, if you came in this market and try and trade it, I don't think very many people did that well today. You know, because we just kept going up, but it was very slow up and back down, step back unless you had a lot of patience. But the big money was made coming in long already overnight.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so just because we trade technically, we were able to stay long on futures, but the option side of it is exactly what Madavi's saying. It was really hard. It was hard for me anyway. And just because of the vol, right? So in hindsight, yeah, you just stayed all in that. And perhaps if you didn't have futures long, you may have. But again, a good example of it. And just to underscore the bare nature of it, the stocks that were hit the hardest this month were among the biggest gainers today. So if we look at the S&P sector, the information technology was up 4%, financials up 3.6%. Remember, we've been making money off that sector, and communication sector up 3.5%. You saw Apple up big from its low. Consumer discretionary up 2.9%. Energy fell back, as you'd expect, 3.2%, but not all of them. So Exxon, Chevron, but a lot of them held up well. And so you got to trade them all a little bit different. Remember, Oxy's been the one I've been selling against those. That actually held up better. That got down to $50 at one stage, closed at 57. So it depends what you're in, right? So it's all, and you notice we got out of a lot of stuff over the last few days. We're in that FAZ. We took profit on it yesterday. We're in Yang. We took profit on it. So don't fall in love with it. Trade clinical, trade technical. It's been a couple of really good days, right?
I bought 2750 puts on the VIX. So I'm still holding that. Doing okay.
Well, I was...
2750s, you remember?
Yeah, and that was a great call. To compare, I did the VIXY, shorted the VIXY, and all that did was capital intensive, heavy margin. The VIX was a great call by Manabi using the put. So that's a good example of what I did wrong versus what Manabi did right as far as capital management. Good profits on both, but look at the tie-up, right? So we also... Sorry, but you're coming through a little bit distorted, so let me go ahead.
Let me move this microphone. Hold on. This microphone's kind of far away. Let me fix it.
Okay. And so while we're just waiting for Marvin to adjust, so...
Is this better?
Yeah, that's a lot better. Yeah, the other one was echoing. So I just want to mention one thing.
I moved over towards Meta Johnny for a while when he was in the Meta World coming here.
Yeah. It does get hard when... So one thing I want to mention before we go back to stocks is we did have the 10-year auction today, and that came in at 1.92%. Was the high yield, 2.47 bid to cover. So that was the reopening of the 10-year. So if we look at bonds real quickly, again, it was another week-long demand. As you can imagine, there's so many risks. To say the selling lifted 10-year yield, that was its highest yield in over a week into that auction. So not good as far as if you wanted to borrow at a cheaper rate, looking at US government. And the 2-year yield rose to a fresh high for the year. So that's interesting that the bond stock market went up in one sector because they keep saying it's all to do with yields. It's actually a lot to do with the value of the investment. So the market collectively, whether they knew it or not, was buying stocks, selling bonds, right? So let's just look at one more and then we'll look at the stocks. Let's have a quick look at gold because there was some profit taking in that today. Remember, it didn't quite get the all-time high, but it's trading just under 2,000. So it's really consolidating at this point. We wanted to stay above all this to give it a run up here. And then copper was the other one we've been watching. Remember, that was a nice fail. That was a great short, that FCX and copper short we did the other day. We've taken profit on that and moved on. But you can see, again, how you don't chase or the dribble. Just that's why we say it. I mean, you got to almost be contrarian. When fear's too much, you buy. And it's too low, you sell. Not basically that, but along that direction, right? Okay, so after the market, the big news was obviously Amazon doing a $2 billion buyback and a, 20-for-1 split. And so that got that to pop, as you can see, quite dramatically. I was actually walking the dogs right there, so I missed it. And but Manabi was able to grab that, I think, weren't you? This bid here.
Yeah.
So
that was a crazy one.
Yeah, out of nowhere. So where were you able to get it when the news broke about here? 2,900.
I said the number 5 is 720 out there on NQ.
No. I mean on Amazon. The when you grabbed Amazon.
Amazon, I was trading NQs. And the NQs is red. So I didn't even try to mess with Amazon. I was short the NQs. I was trying to see this thing. Like I was down immediately, like couple K. Or I was like, whoa, what's going on?
Yeah, I came back and he goes, mate, where are you? I go, what? What's going
Yeah,
on?
I guess in a rush of texting, I was texting someone else.
Yeah. So, but all good. I probably would have fumbled on it anyway. But what's interesting was more the commentary after, because we listened to the CNBC, and my dad was saying, they were saying, they kept going on about fundamentally it doesn't change the value of the stock. Well, we all know that, but it certainly changes the way the market interprets it. Just put on a chart of Apple, put on a part of Tesla. I mean,
So let me tell you why I believe people just real quick.
Yep.
When the markets get kind of iffy, people like to have large stock prices because that means the masses and stuff cannot sit there and irritate your stocks. That's the reason why they keep it up there. But when the market's coming down, is you don't want it up there because then you might be at a target and eventually you lose your liquidity because people can't afford to buy it.
Right.
But anyway. What it does affect is when you people cannot trade the options in it. They say, oh, now you can do these partial things, but that's people can't do options. There's a lot of things they can't do because you're so overpriced, and it just Main Street just basically gets blocked out of it.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's one of the reasons you do it, because you get more people can participate, as you said, and both ways, short and long, right? So, and people psychologically, if they're old enough, so basically over 30, they remember what it did back in previous bull markets. People tend to, when they're bullish, and particularly the dribbler persuasion, who believe, who tend to just be that mainly that way, even they'll deny it, but that's when they really come into the forefront. They just remember the good rather than the bad. So that's a big psychological thing.
Fractionals can't short it.
Right.
I forgot that.
Yeah, so 100%. So that was a big news tomorrow, and we'll see what it does tomorrow. Of course, tomorrow really has a lot to do, and this is why we saw the weakness on the bond market. So the bond market as well was tomorrow's the CPI number. We know it's going to be high, right? So it's a question how the market reacts to that. Was today just a classic short covering rally ahead of that? Could have been, right?
Yeah.
So
Johnny was confusing this for Google, because Google did it last time. We'd had the same kind of movements, right?
Yeah. He kept telling me Google, and I'm like, did they do it as well? I don't know. But
no, I'm like, he confused it. He's like, is this old news? I was like, no, it wasn't Amazon. It was Google.
Yeah.
So that's why we're looking at it.
So let's go for another really good play we did today was the uranium stock. So uranium's pumped when volatility radar is not in here today, but as you know, he's been building up. He saw a lot of things in uranium stocks. Well, that worked really well today. So nice call from him.
Why is the thing you think is up? Because people are going to switch to nuclear plants, or they think people are going to start building a lot of bombs?
Well, it's more energy. It's energy related, right? But the pump today was
they're switching nuclear plants, not the other stuff. That's good.
Yeah. So
I just wasn't sure which one was it.
Well, the people that got the bomb probably got enough of it anyway, right? So
well, about 6,000 of them, most of these countries. I don't know if 7,000 will do any better for you or any worse.
So it's more for energy. So this pump today, so this is UUU. We actually did a few stocks. We were fortunate. There's one we're watching. There's Williams was one. Oh, excuse me. It's been a busy day, busy week. I'm buggered and it's Wednesday. In fact, where normally, as you know, the panic drill time we consistently on Twitter would be Wednesday for Around the Barrel and tomorrow for Into the Vortex for oil and natural gas. Didn't even have time to do that. I'm buggered if I know how people are on how to trade. But anyway,
it was the biggest, best day in S&P day rally since 2020, almost 2 years.
Oh, was it that big? Wow. I was shocked when I did peel at the end of the day. I didn't, because I was so busy on oil, I didn't realize we were up that much. So it was good. Nice
No,
to find that out.
no,
But unfortunately,
no,
I looked at some of my dribbler stocks. They didn't do so good.
all right. No problem. I
So
just got the headlines were right.
yeah. I think so. So. The stocks we did was Williams, which is, if you're from Houston, you know they are. Williams Tower, Williams WLMS. They were a big stock at one point. Pipelines, all that, but they're involved in nuclear. The one we did real good on was LTBR, which have actually taken most of that off because it popped so high. And UUU that you got there. There are others, UAR and all that. If you go back, and there's an episode to go back on, actually, look on that where we talked about them with VR there. So anyway, that's at play. And that second pump was when they talked about putting sanctions on uranium to a nuclear reactor in Russia, basically, right? So that's this bit, I think, or was that bit? That might have been that. It was, yeah, because we got the pullback. Okay, so that's that. Sunworks I wanted to show you was one that, as far as renewable goes, on a fundamental logical thing, and Joe Biden, president, this seemed like, remember we bought this at 220 the other week, sold out of it, took profit, and then bought it back yesterday in here and held it overnight. This one we're actually down on, and holding it for the potential there, and you can sell options against it. But I just want to highlight that a lot of these renewable plays still have a massive overhang on them, mate. I'm shocked that we got whacked a bit on this one, right? And there was another one, and that. So it just shows you how much that overhang is. It reminds me a bit of energy stocks like a year out. So it's another play. The other one after earnings was CrowdStrike. So the cybersecurity stocks have had a bit of a bid on them anyway, because of what's that other one? IRNT, people like that. So there is potential on them, and I think there's some good shorts on some of these. I mean, not good, people that are short stuck on them. So then they had earnings today, and they popped. It was almost 30. I think it was $30 on the day. What was the low? Like 166. Yeah, it's basically right on $30. Yeah, right. Am I right? From the low to the high, and I think it gapped up 25 or something. But you can see these plays. So often in bull markets, there's a lust, if you will, to make money, right? So we'll ignore that. On the bull side, so if anything beats it, really goes up, and if it misses, they destroy it. So you traded this one, right, Madabi, after the CrowdStrike?
Yeah. I'm still in it.
So you can see what it
It blasted off. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I'm short. Now I'm up. Wait, no, it's not. Where's CrowdStrike good?
So you've shorted the spike for the gap, yeah.
Right now. I was just even just a second ago.
So yeah, I'm pretty well flat for the day on a lot of this stuff. So as far as optionality goes, when VIX came off, well, at the end of the day, it was good opportunity to put on a few long calls and long puts. That was the other thing there. Obviously, vol is through the roof in oil. The good trade has happened on that. You don't have to be in it all the time. We did the long, we did the short over the last couple of weeks. We just now basically have the good quality length on board there. As far as that strategy goes. And that's all the stocks pretty much. We didn't do too. We didn't want to be too long. It's kind of killing us actually. Worn out at the end of the day, right? And I'm sure it's a long time to sit through and listen to the dribble that we come up with. So let's have a quick go back to the trading screen. So remember, you do have CPI tomorrow. It could get nasty. You also have a meeting between the Ukraine and Russia. So tomorrow, look at these levels on the S&P. Let's just focus on the S&P here. This is a 60. So we should be able to see the levels here. So if you want to, and remember too, a lot of people are rolling over to March 2 tomorrow and through tomorrow till Friday as far as the S&P contract goes. So keep that in mind. Anyway, we do have resistance all the way up. You know what? I'm going to do a daily chart. So we have our steady resistance here. You know where we are. We have our Cajun, right, and our channel here. And from a market profile point of view, use the numbers you've been using, 4326, which is just underneath that. And you got as your first major level, then you got all that. On your downside, you're going to come in at 4264, just underneath it. So these are, I'm giving you these futures levels, so right? So they're four handles lower here. And then you're going to come all the way down to 4193. See? So that's that level too. So basically this bar up to Cajun is your potential tomorrow. To break that, to be really bulled up, it's got to get over that. And if you go to the weekly, remember, we don't get too excited unless it breaks all this, as far as big moves go. So remember, you got to trade everything in front of you in this kind of volatility. Don't be sitting on longs, hoping it goes up, or hitting on shorts, it goes down. The vol is so high, you can't really afford to do that on optionality, and you're not going to be a big seller of vol because margins have gone through the roof. You've probably noticed we have a lot of shops. I noticed that today, shorting some of these energy stocks. I was like, what the hell, you know? So be aware of that. That also tells you there's some big losses out there, right? That's why they do that. Okay. Anything else? I think that's pretty well it, right? So we just want to keep it short. So everyone have a great day. Be aware of the time bombs going off. We've got more bond markets. 20-year coming up. We have natural gas number tomorrow. Lord knows in what, in crude today. Today it could do with a break, some of these markets. So keep that in mind. As far as that goes, that's good night for me and good night for him, right? We'll see you all tomorrow. Thank you. Good night. Have a good one. Yeah, I think if we just try and keep it. Dude, I lost my way a little bit there. I was trying to find what they're fucking up, and I brought up yesterday's number. Yeah, your internet was doing a weird thing. I wasn't sure. That's all right.
My internet went down. Yeah, that's why I was telling you my internet went down for a second.
Yeah. No worry. But I think we just got to keep. Man, I'm exhausted, as you can tell. That's why you and I are both in bad moods because we've been trading hard, and then this thing.
I get in bad moods too.
Yeah,
I'm not worried.
No, but I think we're spending 2 hours, and it's frustrating when we're giving fantastic advice and none of these cunts listen. They listen to these con men cunts. Huh?
We're wearing ourselves too thin.
Well, that's exactly it. Yeah. Anyway, mate, I got to fly. I got to answer whoever that called.
I got some stuff I got to take care of that I've been missing to do.
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah, we're